Okay. Hi, Meg. How are you?
Great. Thank you so much for having me.
Well, thanks for coming on this show. I appreciate it. So, where are you? Where are you calling from?
I'm actually in Rochester, Minnesota, and it's the first nice day in quite a long time. It's like 60 degrees outside, which is pretty exciting around here.
That's really warm for March, yeah?
hmm Yep.
So, you are an author, and how many books have you written altogether?
Well, I have four that I've co-written that are nonfiction, and then I have three short story collections that I wrote, as well as three novels that I've written. And I'm in, process of writing another novel. I've got another nonfiction that's going to be out in October. So quite a lot of books, actually.
Have you been doing that as a career for your whole life, or do you do something else?
I actually, after college, I stayed home with my kids, and my husband worked on his career. And then once he was kind of, well placed and was really flourishing in his career, then I was able to sort of take over what I really wanted to do, live my dream, which was be an author. So it's only been about the past like 8 years or so that I've been a writer as my career.
The book that we're going to be talking about today is what's it called?
Twisted Reveries is my first in my short story series, and they've been reissued with new covers, so they're beautiful on the outside and scary on the inside.
Okay, so Twisted Reveries is the series title or the book title?
It's the book title, and I also refer to it as the series as well. So yeah,
So, this is book one?
yes.
Okay. How many do you anticipate are going to be in this series?
Well, I have three right now, and I like how three is. It feels very I don't know, it feels very comfortable having three in a series, but I absolutely love writing short stories, so I can see myself writing more in the future. I never close the door to that.
I got to ask, who's the scary clown in the back with the balloon there on your shelf?
Oh, yes. Well, I've got Pennywise back here. I've got all
Oh,
my
okay.
baddies, I call them. Yeah, he's Pennywise from from the 1990s It. And I also have like the more recent Pennywise. I've got all my bad guy action figures here. I'm a horror movie aficionado, you could say.
Okay. Well, your books, according to your bio, 13 Tales of the Macabre, right?
Yeah, yep. So I write scary stuff. I originally, when I was in college, I really wanted to sort of write the next great American novel. I really wanted to write literary fiction. That's what I loved reading in one part of my life. But then as I sort of grew and kind of got in touch with my creative side, I realized, I loved horror, and I'd never really put the two together. Like I love writing and I love horror. So it wasn't until I sort of infused those two things that success really came, and I really got really excited about writing, and I realized, oh, this is what I'm supposed to be doing. So I love kind of taking a literary side to horror. A lot of times people think horror is just slashers, or, it's just really simplistic, but it actually is a great way to sort of tell all sorts of different stories. So it's just something I very much love.
Well, you're right, there's a wide spectrum of horror. I mean, you can go from Edgar Allan Poe to the Texas Chainsaw Massacre, right?
Yep.
And everything in between. So your writing is more literary, you're closer to the Poe side.
Well, I mean, in my own mind.
Okay.
Yeah, at the same time, I love Texas Chainsaw Massacre too. So, I love to have, some sort of like gory, scary elements as well, but I'm really focused on my characters. I love having, complicated female, usually, characters who are going through difficult times in their lives. They're not perfect. They are living with, motherhood or divorce or all sorts of different things that we have to live with every day, yet they're thrown into this, horrific situation. And so I think from that, I get to sort of explore the world through this horror lens. So yeah, I'd like to say, I may be a little more on the Poe side, but also horror is fun, and I like to sort of play up that element as well.
Well, speaking of Poe, I'm looking at your tattoo. Is that the
Yeah,
raven?
it is. It's the Raven. He's reading a book. Sometimes people aren't sure what he's doing, but yes, he's reading a book. Yeah, I love horror fiction. And Poe, of course, was, somebody I was exposed to when I was, probably in middle school. And it was like, oh, wow. I love the way he creates these scary tableaus and the atmosphere that he creates. So yeah, he's a big one for me.
His writing was certainly unique, but it's almost impossible for people these days to write like that because the language that he used at the time isn't something that we grow up knowing. It's almost like
Yeah.
learning another language. It's like Shakespeare, really.
Yes,
Yeah.
it is. Yeah, you kind of feel like you need a dictionary or a thesaurus or something. No, it's true. People, aren't writing quite that same way. And I still, I have a love for words and language. And so, I try to do that, in a more modern way and get in touch with those emotions that he was trying to get in touch with. Shirley Jackson is another example of a writer. Obviously, she, wasn't around that far ago, but she has such a subtlety in her writing, in her horror writing. And I think that's something that is such a delicate balance that I'm always trying to sort of, emulate. So yeah, I think there's so much to learn from these people who came before us, but also obviously, sort of modernize it.
Oh, absolutely. So you mentioned that your characters are largely female. Are they the victims or are they the villain?
Both.
Both.
Um, yeah, I love this idea of taking that, yes, usually it's the protagonist and sort of seeing if she sinks or swims in this situation. And, and sometimes these women have made really poor decisions. And so right off the bat, you maybe don't like them, but then you can come to appreciate something that they do and maybe they redeem themselves. But yes, and sometimes they're villains, just evil all the way through. But even that I like to kind of complicate and not make it, so one-sided. But yeah, I have fun either way.
Are your stories set in modern times or are they historical or?
So in my first Twisted Reveries, they are all modern, I believe. And then the second one is I go through my second collection of Twisted Reveries. They all take place in this little fictional town in Minnesota, and it goes from, oh gosh, I think the 1800s through contemporary. And then the last book in the Twisted Reveries series, the third one, is all, I call it antique. I really like historical fiction as well as I read a lot of nonfiction, so I really like, just doing research. So I thought, what a great opportunity to sort of write some gothic feeling tales. So yeah, all of those are sort of pre-World War II in the third book. So I had a good time with that. And one of the things that really throws horror off now is telephones, like having your cell phone on you at all times. So writing stories that took place then, I don't have to worry about it.
That's a good point because the movies do that now as well.
Yeah.
If you go back to like the 1970s horror film, it was always the house phone that would
Yeah.
ring at the most
Yes.
appropriate time, right? But now
Yep.
the cell phone could be anywhere with you. Yeah.
Exactly. Which is fun, but also I don't want to give them too many opportunities to escape. So sometimes, yeah, it's nice to get the cell phone out of there.
Let me ask you something about the horror genre generally. With romance, there are sort of what they call hot levels,
Okay.
where it goes from sort of family friendly to more erotic to more graphic. Is
Yeah.
horror, does horror have that same sort of levels of rating, like gore level or blood level or whatever you want to call it?
Yeah. I mean, you know, I don't know how, technical it is or if I know that there's more books sharing trigger warnings, which I think, isn't a bad idea. That in the back of the book, they'll have like, hey, there's, things like especially that are sensitive. Maybe there's a child who dies in this book or things like that. But For me, because I love horror, I like to jump into a book and kind of just find out on my own. But I know that there are people who, prefer psychological to gory and things like that. And there's probably ways to find that out. As for me, I just write what I write and don't really put any sort of rating on it or things like that. But I think it's something certainly to be aware of.
Well, what I found interesting was that in the horror genre, you can kill as many people as you want. But if you kill a dog or a cat, people are outraged.
Yeah. I'm kind of like that. I'm like, no, and certainly in movies and in books too, it's like, oh no, wait, you did not just kill the dog. So sometimes it has to happen, but my friend and I, we write screenplays together, and we sort of vowed that we'll never do that. We just don't want to see it happen.
Yeah, but they're okay with 1,000 people dying in the
right. It's fine.
I always
they
thought
can die in the most gruesome ways, but don't let that dog die.
Don't let the dog die. I always found that to be funny. Well, as a dog lover, I appreciate that. So
yeah,
for me, that kind of works. Okay. So is your book out? Is it out now?
Yep, it's out now. It's got the new fancy cover. Inklings Publishing, it's through. They have all brand new covers for the 3, which really are beautiful, and just give it a nice new shine. And the book is out now. Also, there's some radio or audio plays of a few of them at the Wicked Library, I believe. So if people like to listen to and kind of see what they'd be getting into, they can check it out there as well.
Oh, your book has been made into audio theater?
Yeah, a couple of them.
Oh, great.
Not every story, but yeah, a couple of them have been. And I've written some original ones there as well. For the Wicked Library, as well as one called The Lift, which is really fun too. But yeah, so if people want to listen to one, look up Meg Hafdahl, Wicked Library, and then if they like it, then they can go buy my book on Amazon.
Is this different than just a straight audio book? Is it more done like a play, or how does that work?
Yep. The Wicked Library is great. They're kind of like they take episodes that are kind of Twilight Zone-esque, and it's a very high production music. Done, like a play. Yeah. So it's kind of old school Orson Welles type radio.
Oh, great. Yeah. I've never checked that out, but I'm going to, because that's right up my alley of something I'd be interested in. Okay.
Yeah, for sure.
All right. Super. Well, we do have to wind this down. Thanks so much for coming on. Do you have a website you want to give out?
Yeah, people can go to meghafdahl.com. They can also go to horrorrewind.com. That's my podcast I do with my best friend and my co-author. We talk about horror movies. So if that's people's thing, they can go to Horror Rewind and listen, or we're on Spotify, all that. I'm also at Meg Hafdahl on Instagram, Twitter, TikTok, all that.
Okay, great. Well, Meg, thanks so much for coming on. It was nice meeting you. Best of luck with your